Well, welcome back. I know this is a subject that a lot of you have been really excited about hitting. We're talking about the tango. In fact, it's all about the tango. Okay, not really, but we're kind of hitting that subject today. So, welcome back to It Takes Two, and we're discussing.
I'm super excited about this
I
topic.
thought you would be. So
Yeah,
the sex
I've been
topic
waiting
is
for this one.
Yeah, well, I knew you had been.
Yeah.
So you guys have been together for a long time, and it's likely that there are some differences in the perspectives that you had when you were 20 and how you're kind of seeing things now. So I think it'd be fun just to talk a little bit about, hey, this is what I thought it was going to be when I was 20 something, and now this is what I've recognized it's become a little bit, and
What'd
talk
you
about the
think?
tango.
What did I think it would be?
Yeah, like when we were dating, we dated for 4.5 years before we got married.
Yeah. I thought it would be less stress, like easier. Like I just didn't assume there would be so many issues with it after you got
Why?
married. Because when you're dating, that's never really an issue. I mean, it's not for that reason. Like lack of interest, all those things, stress, all that stuff never
So
plays into it.
I was more attractive when we were dating.
No, I didn't say that.
But when we were dating, I mean, it was always so, man, we got to make sure we don't do anything. We can't pass boundaries. And it was just constantly stress on making sure you don't do anything. But, okay. And then so I thought, man, I can't wait till we get married. Because when you get married, you can do it every day. I'm going, I seriously thought you could have sex like anytime you wanted.
No matter what was happening.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's legal, let's do it. And I'm going,
So how did that work out for you?
well, it doesn't really work out that way. I didn't know. I thought, like the whole thing here, it takes two to tango,
Yeah.
not one. That's something else.
So one of the things that is difficult when you start broaching this subject is the fact that obviously men and women are different. We're different in how we get to those moments of sexual intimacy and what it takes for us to feel comfortable in that. What are some of the things you guys
Saying
have
like I'm
recognized
a
in each other?
microwave and she's a crock pot.
Yeah, tell us a little bit. Give us some information.
Or for
on
you,
how
it
to-
takes a thought. For me, it's a process of probably a long series of
Okay,
events.
so how do y'all navigate that? So you've been
don't
learning for
know.
26 years and you've arrived.
Yeah,
So
how
tell
do we
all
do
of
it?
us who.
No. Oh my gosh.
Now, how do we do it? How do we handle it?
Well, we have lots of discussions about it.
Okay, so it's okay to talk about
I think
sex
you
and
have
sex?
to. Again, every time we've done a session, we've talked about community. You've got to talk about it. You've got to talk about,
Set expectations.
yeah, and where we're at. I mean, what are your needs? When, all of those things.
Give us an idea of, hey, at some point, if Scott is engaging in these activities, we're not talking about sexual intimacy. We're talking about global intimacy in your relationship, and that kind of paves the way. So what does that look like for you guys?
I think serving your spouse, not being selfish. I think that for most women, I think you go, well, a lot of women, I don't know about most women, but you get going and going and going and going, and that's really kind of the last thing at the end of the day that you're thinking about. But I think that it's something that's important, and it's something that helps you value your spouse, shows them you love them and care about them. So, I mean, I think you have to not be selfish with it and have to put the spouse's needs before your own.
I think what you just said there is huge. That I get so convicted on all the time is because so many times I think of sex as for me instead of sex as for her. In other words, sex is supposed to be from love being, lust is what can I get from you for me. Love is what can I give to you. And the best sex in the world is when you are loving each other and all I want to do is love you and take care of you and be a good husband to you. That plays over into that. If it's always about, hey, I need some, or I need to get some, like that, then there can be some of that communication there because, hey, let's just be honest. You know what happens, what we talk about sometimes? I say, look, I'm very stressed and it's causing me to my sex drive is up and I have nowhere to go but you. I mean, I don't know how to say it any other way. I think that has to be communicated at times. And she has to say, hey, I'm stressed out or I'm frustrated. I think even asking, hey, when are good times? Do you think, when are your best times that Nobody wants to be shut down. I don't want to be shut down. No guy wants to be shut down. Women don't want to be shut down if they're initiating. And so it's like to even kind of have a talk of when do you think would be like the best time I have the best percentage opportunity.
Okay, so if people are having a hard time having this discussion, so you guys have walked the journey for 26 years and then you had your dating life before that. So if people are having a difficult time getting to the conversation and talking openly about needs or even expectations and desires, what are some tools or tricks or things that you guys have done to get to that place where you're actually able to communicate on that?
I think the conversation's super awkward, but the super awkward's better than the super fighting.
Okay.
So I think when you value that and realize that that's one of those is going to happen. Either you're going to talk about it and try to figure it out, or you're going to fight about it. And you're not going to figure it out fighting about it. You're just going to keep fighting about it.
Because you're saying it could be that what she'll do sometimes is say to me is like we'll be arguing on something, or I'm irritated on something. What's wrong with you? Nothing. Just forget it like this. And she goes, oh, we just haven't had sex. That's what your whole deal is. Like this. And I'm going, well, that has part to do with it. So like that deal there can be an undercurrent to the other things going on. And if you're not communicating about it, if you're not talking about it because we don't go there, well, how do you not go there?
Well, you're going to go there one way or another.
You either talk about it or you're going to act out.
Or you're going to fight about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to acknowledge the fact that there's a spiritual dynamic here when we're talking about physical intimacy. And so what is the biblical concept for physical intimacy in marriage?
Yeah, I think it's very important to have that aspect of understanding that God is the one who came up with the idea of sex. And the concept from Genesis with Adam and Eve, he says the man is going to leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. That is not just a physical connection of body, but there is a spiritual connection that is in a soul connection. Your souls are connected. And so the two become one flesh. It's a spiritual transaction that takes place. That's why single people always talk about, you hear some people, secular thought is, it's just a physical thing. It's just, hey, if I'm consenting, you're consenting, what's the big deal? Well, your soul is tied to them now. Your souls are connected. And when you break that up, there's a ripping of that. So in the same way, you flip it in the same way in marriage, is it's like glue to the relationship, that every time you're coming together, it's like Tim Keller says, it's a renewal of that covenant. It's a recommitting. And think about the whole metaphor, and the whole deal is that, you have nothing, no barrier between you. There's no close, you're transparent and totally together, intimately, in a beautiful way, that you are loving each other and making promise again. I'm only yours, and you are only mine, and that covenant is just incredible.
Well,
And
so
it's
much
awesome.
so much of it, when you think about it in those terms, is there are many of the things that we talk about in this series you can do in all the other relationships that you have. But this is
Not
the
this
one
one.
thing that is part of the covenant of marriage. So in light of that, we always recognize that physical intimacy is really, in a lot of ways, the icing on the cake of other places of intimacy and romanticism in the relationship. What are you guys doing to keep your relationship romantic and engaging each other in those
Tell
other
me
ways?
about how romantic I am. How I sing to you and stuff.
That's not romantic.
Okay.
That's not romantic. I always tell you to leave it for the professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I always want to sing to her and stuff.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. He's seen that.
But it's not very romantic.
Not so much.
What's he doing that provides a romantic spark in your mind?
I think it's
your
back
life?
like when we talked about the things of what makes me feel loved, what makes me feel valued, when the counselor was helping us do that. I think when those things happen, that's a big deal. When he initiates us going on dates and me not having to arrange it, or he initiates new places for us to go explore or check out or whatever, those are all.
So the first thing is he's got to know what those are. So
Yeah.
if you're one of the ladies that's watching this, she may be saying, well, dude, he ought to just know. He knows me. We've been together for 10 years. How does he not know these things?
Well, that's again another awkward conversation that either it's worth the awkward conversation or you just keep getting mad about it.
Yeah, but I mean, it may be awkward, but it really shouldn't be. I can't figure out everything, and,
Right.
and it may be more that way, but I'm not sure that you would be able to know everything
Right.
that makes me feel loved if I don't tell you. And then so first you got to have the conversation. Secondly, you got to really listen. Thirdly, now you're responsible to activate those things, or it feels as though you're disrespecting what they've just communicated to you. So all of that comes in, and men, I'll tell you what, sex is something that you can tell a lot about what's going on in the relationship, in the sense of, and I'm not talking about sexual appetites, because different people have different ages, I mean, I know all that, but man, there are people that I've counseled with and talked with that, they're not having sex regularly, and that's not just about a sex deal, that's an intimacy deal. They're not very intimate in other areas of their life, spiritual, relational, emotional, that plays into it. It's something that's going to be affected by it, but it's also something that if you're neglecting that area of your life, then that will impact the other places too.
Okay, I think what a lot of people are interested in knowing is, how can you affair-proof your marriage?
Yeah, because I think that's a good question even on this, because the sexual intimacy in marriage is very important. Part of it is to cause it where you're not thinking about needing to satisfy that somewhere else, or that you're trying to do that. But I think some of those things that are very important is not only communicate, keep talking about those things. Hey, I'm struggling with this, or here's what's going on. And what I mean by struggling on this is, don't say, I saw a hot woman today and I was really lusting. You don't really need to say that, as much as, hey, you know what? I really need you in my life, and help me to know how to love you more. And look, there's things that people get sick. And when people are sick, or they're having struggles and all that, there are issues. You've got to just love them and understand the situation on physical issues and different things, time of the month. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that comes on that. But on the affair proving, I'm telling you, I don't have friends that are women that's my friend. Now we have friends that they're our friends. But I don't have a really close friend that's a woman. She doesn't have a man best friend besides me, because that's inappropriate. That's not a good thing to do. You don't do that. You don't build that type of intimacy. That's just here. I think secondly, you don't put yourself in a position where you're flirting on Facebook or on social media type stuff of talking to people that you used to go to high school with, or you dated before, or you think is cute, or whatever. You don't need to have secret emails and Facebooks and connections there. The only reason I bring that up is because that seems to be a common thing that the enemy is using to mess people up. And so I think the best way to affair proof is to have a great marriage. Who wants to mess up a great marriage? So instead of trying to find something outside that's going to fill things in your heart, put the work and the effort into building what you have and work on it. What do you think?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Instead of looking outside, be willing to do the work inside.
So good. Okay, so our groups are about to have some discussion time, and there's the potential that every couple kind of is across the gamut on where they're at on this. So lead us into that discussion time and pray for us.
Well, I think what's awkward about this sometimes is that this is an intimate thing between a husband and wife that isn't like you go around advertising and telling everybody, hey, let's talk about our sex life. That's inappropriate. But as we're talking about challenges, and as we're talking about different things that we can learn and grow about how to help in this area of communicating in spouse, I think it's totally appropriate in this sacred place, this safe place, to be able to talk about it in an appropriate way. So I just want to pray for you guys. This is a big thing to talk about, not only in the group, but this week as couples, that you guys would talk about it. Mm-hmm. Good? Mm-hmm. Let's pray. God, I pray for everybody, even as we come into this subject. I pray that you would just help everybody to be able to engage with their spouse this week, and in the discussion now of where they're at and what's going on. And Lord, if there's anybody who needs help beyond this, Lord, let them seek that out with a counselor and to find that help. Bless every couple. In Jesus' name, amen.